Very good evening to all of you. Thanks for joining us here on this Sunday edition of the Urban Debate. I am Afrida Rehman Ali. Well, two states in India have today inducted new names in their state cabinet. One, of course, is Uttar Pradesh, where it's a cabinet expansion. 7 new names included in the cabinet, whereas in Punjab, it's an entirely new ministry that has been announced, one that is headed by Charanjit Singh Channi. And there, of course, there are multiple issues that need to be focused upon. We are going to talk about all those issues. The primary among them when it comes to UP is the one that was largely expected of Jitin Prasada, who switched sides from Congress to BJP, now being inducted in Yogi Adityanath's cabinet. 6 others also took oaths today as ministers of state. Now, the expansion of the Council of Ministers in UP, remember, is taking place right ahead of the crucial state elections early next year. So 2022 UP election widely seen as BJP's test of its appeal at the state level. It's coming after a couple of defeats, both in Kerala and Tamil Nadu and also in West Bengal. So with this expansion, the question is, can this beat anti-incumbency? Can this expansion cover up for the leadership failures? Those are the issues we will be addressing today. And let's make no mistake, this is purely political. At a time like this has got no direct bearing on governance. All these decisions that are taken, the inclusions that have been made, have got something to do with political compulsions. And therefore, we will discuss with our guests that coming ahead of the state elections, what is the significance of this kind of a cabinet expansion in Uttar Pradesh? The other state that has an entirely new cabinet, like I was mentioning, is Punjab. After swearing in 2 deputies, Sukhjinder Singh Randhawa and OP Soni on Monday, Punjab Chief Minister Charanjit Singh Channi carried out his first cabinet expansion today. And this, remember, has happened after months of infighting between the 2 power centers of Amrinder Singh and Navjot Singh Sidhu that has yielded to a completely new chief minister in the form of Charanjit Singh Channi. And now the major question is that whose side has found a greater resonance in his cabinet. That's one issue, and the other, of course, being on how is the caste balance equation being managed in Punjab. So all of these issues we'll discuss with our expert. Joining us today is Anand Mishra, political editor and chief of bureau of Deccan Herald. Good evening, Mr. Mishra. Thank you for joining us. Before I go across to you, I want to play out some important inputs that we have. We'll discuss the issues coming from Uttar Pradesh first. Let's listen in to the Deputy Chief Minister on what he has to say about the recent cabinet expansion. Let's listen in.
मंत्रिमंडल अधिकार ये सरकार का और माननीय मुख्यमंत्री का अधिकार होता है। सरकार की शुरू से नियत रही समय समय पर सभी पक्षों को सभी के लिए काम करना, सबका साथ सबका विकास के आधार पर सरकार का संचालन रहा है। तो मैं समझता हूँ कि एक बहुत अच्छा ये विस्तार है और लोगों को काम करने का जितना भी समय बचा है और अवसर मिलेगा, सरकार की नीतियाँ जनता तक तेज़ी के साथ पहुँचें, ये हमेशा से सरकार की नीयत रही है। और आज भी आप देखें गन्ने का मूल्य का इतना ज़्यादा बढ़ोतरी किया गया है। गन्ने की चीनी मिलें पूरी 119 की 19 चलती रहीं। शिक्षा में, स्वास्थ्य में, अपराध में कमी, शिक्षा और स्वास्थ्य में समृद्धि, अवस्थापना में समृद्धि, कोरोना का मैनेजमेंट, ये सरकार की उपलब्धियां रही हैं।
हमने तय किया है कि जो लोग मंत्रिमंडल में स्थान नहीं पा पाए हैं उनको पार्टी में और सरकार के सेटअप में, क्योंकि बहुत सारे काम होते हैं, उनको बहुत सारी जिम्मेदारियां सौंपी जाएगी। किसी को छोड़ा नहीं गया है, लेकिन नए लोगों को सम्मिलित करने के लिए, 7 नए लोगों को सम्मिलित करने के लिए और एक सामाजिक बैलेंस, क्षेत्रीय बैलेंस पैदा करने के लिए जो है ये सारी एक्सरसाइज हुई है। तो इसलिए किसी को पार्टी ने छोड़ा नहीं है, बल्कि उनकी सेवाओं के क्षेत्र बदल जाएंगे और उनको दूसरी सेवाओं पर लगाया जाएगा और सरकार में भी लगाया जाएगा, सरकार के बाहर भी लगाया जाएगा। कुछ क्षणिक बातें होंगी भी तो मना लिया जाएगा, रास्ता निकाल लिया जाएगा।
Okay, so we heard inputs coming from both the states, but I would like to take up Uttar Pradesh first. Mr. Mishra, is this exercise undertaken entirely keeping in mind the vote bank politics? Even though you heard Dinesh Sharma there saying bahut time hai to perform and to actually, prove to the voters the efficiency of the BJP government. But is that really the case? Because take the instance of Jitin Prasada, that is very clear that the idea is to woo the Brahmin voters, or rather woo them back. And also, I want you to, dwell upon the fact that how this expansion will, if at all in any way, help BJP's prospects in the coming elections.
Well, if you look at the time gap, you see there are just 5 months left for elections to go. And then there will be also this model code of conduct. So we have effectively, there are just 3 months for elections to go. And I don't think there's big bang deliveries can be made in the next 3 months. So obviously this is an exercise aimed at social messaging, reaching out to different communities. So if you look at the number of names of people that have been inducted, I mean, Jitin Prasada is a well-known Brahmin face from Congress party, was inducted in the BJP just a few months ago. And then Mr. Chhatrapal Gangwar is from Bareilly, from where the party, I mean, the former Mr. Santosh Gangwar was dropped from the last Union Cabinet. There is a representative from Mallah community, because BJP is reaching out in a big way to the Mallas. So they don't have a pan-state leader in the state. If you remember, the last leader we remember from the community was Fulan Devi as an MP from Samajwadi Party. And BJP in UP and Bihar, both states, they have reached out in a big way to Mallah community. In Bihar, they had propped up Mukesh Sahni years back. Now it's a different story that Sahni is now part of the opposition. But in UP, especially if you look the voting patterns of dominant castes are very clear. I mean, Yadavs largely vote for Samajwadi Party. Muslims will vote for a party which is in a position to defeat BJP. Samajwadi Party may get the major chunk of votes. BSP and Congress, they will also get their votes in seats where they have strong candidates. Then Dalit votes, generally BSP is getting. So BJP is reaching out to non-Yadav OBCs, non-Jatav Dalits in a big way. And these two communities have helped the party expand its base, win a large number of seats since 2014. So that stamp is also there in this cabinet reshuffle. Basically, this is amplifying the message that Modi government had done earlier by expansion of Union Cabinet some time back. So this is just a kind of follow-up of that exercise. And obviously, its impact will be felt.
Yes, the other question, Mr. Mishra, would be whether this can in any way cover up for the governance failures. For instance, let's face it, Yogi Adityanath's image, in fact, was dented as an able administrator because of the incidents that happened in the COVID second wave. Now, for a party that has won 312 out of the 403 seats in the last elections, do you notice a certain nervousness of retaining that much this time around, because of which this last-minute step has been taken?
See, that nervousness is in all the BJP-ruled states. You see, out of these 6 states going to poll, 5 are ruled by BJP. So in none of these states, BJP is in a very strong position. But yes, as rightly you pointed out, that in UP, the gap is so big between the total opposition votes and the BJP votes and the number of seats they have won, that I think there is still in somewhere in a comfortable position. Because it's a huge task for any of the opposition party to bridge this gap. But obviously, this is one of the toughest elections for BJP post-pandemic. UP and Gujarat, both I will say. The UP, the thing that works to their advantage is that the opposition is divided into states. BSP, SP and Congress are fighting separately so far. And we don't know what holds in future and whether they would align. Because if you look at the previous 2 elections, also in 2019, BSP and SP came together, but they could not dent the BJP's vote bank. In 2017, Congress and SP came together. They could not dent the vote of BJP. But obviously, pandemic has altered all these theories. So actually, what is going to happen in elections post-COVID, nobody is certain.
Yes, and we are yet to find out. You're right. This is the first state election that's happening after the pandemic. The last time around, the BJP came in with a thumping majority. But the fact is, you know, it's very clear the party is willing to take no chances. Preemptive measures are being taken. For instance, for the Brahmins that constitute 13% of UP voters, to woo them and to consolidate that vote bank, to plug the loopholes wherever it can. The party is doing all that is necessary, is what I understand from your views also. And before I move on to Punjab, one last question on, do you see a huge thrust on Uttar Pradesh also, because this is going to be a precursor for the all-important 2024 Lok Sabha elections?
Yes, you rightly said. See, Uttar Pradesh is is a state which has sent maximum prime ministers. Even Congress during his days, most of the prime ministers of Congress came from UP. UP has 80 Lok Sabha seats. So, assembly election in UP is always very significant. And if BJP's performance nosedives, dips substantially, then it will be kind of it will be read as a mood of the nation. Because the the pandemic has affected the Hindi belt states much more than other parts of the country, where health infrastructure is relatively better. So if UP and BJP, despite having these three temple towns, Mathura, Ayodhya and Kashi, if BJP's performance dips in UP, then there are serious cause for worry for the ruling party. I'll say that the tremors of the UP
All
will
right.
be felt
In fact, with that, let's now talk about the other state. Yes. Absolutely, I take your point there, but let's also focus on Punjab for a bit, because there again the issues are very interesting. I need you to tell me about the fact that in Punjab again, the caste balance equations have been taken care of, and it's interesting because if you ask a BJP spokesperson, they will tell you that the Congress is trying to deflect from their administrative failures with this expansion, whereas they are doing the same here. So that being said, both the parties in that sense are moving in a similar direction, trying to make this move before the state elections in Punjab. What is being discussed, Mr. Mishra, is whether there is a larger resonance of Amrinder Singh or Navjot Singh Sidhu. That is one issue. The expansion, it seems, have dropped out as many as 5 ministers from the Amrinder's cabinet. Do you read a message there?
Well, Punjab is a state where Congress has dominated the news space for all the wrong reasons in the run-up to polls. I mean, they're in a pretty bad situation, because if you see the recent remarks of Captain, if he revolts openly, if he fields candidates against other Congress leaders as well, then it's going to be really a very tough situation. For Mr. Sidhu, already Captain has declared that he will oppose his any attempt to project him as CM face, or he's becoming Chief Minister tooth and nail. So see, and in Punjab, we don't have this caste thing, such a big play as we find in UP. Though in Punjab, Congress has made the first Dalit Chief Minister. It's a big gamble. And obviously, they are looking for its impact beyond Punjab. If you see, Punjab in Dalit politics has never been as a dominant theme as was in UP. Despite Mr. Kashiram hailing from Punjab, he made Uttar Pradesh the laboratory of his social engineering, and successfully he did. I mean, Uttar Pradesh had a Dalit Chief Minister for 4 times. So in Punjab, this caste combination attempt that Congress is doing may not have a very big impact. What will really matter in Punjab is how much damage Captain managed to deliver to Congress. It will test the Sidhu's popularity, because so far Mr. Sidhu has been kind of rebel, rousing personality. He has been revolting against an incumbent chief minister. But whether he can win a state on his own, that will be put to test. What helps Congress is this breakup of the alliance between BJP and Akali Dal, which was kind of a social coalition. I mean, these two parties came together with different vote bases, and they coalesced and they complemented each other. So that is not there. Obviously, Akali's alliance with BSP, which many believed could be a game changer, that is now under strain after Congress naming a Dalit as chief minister.
Yes, that is there, but I want you to also tell us a bit about how an attempt is being made, as is visible from the names that have been accommodated. that the Jat Sikhs, the Dalit Sikhs and the Hindu Sikhs all being equally represented, and the fact that Gurjeet Singh Rana has been brought back, and that apparently shows the stamp of the High Command, how it has weighed in favor of bringing back Gurjeet Singh Rana, despite there being a very strong voice against him after him being caught in the sand mining scandal.
Yeah, actually, if you see this balancing act of Jat, Sikh, Dalit and Hindu, that started on the first day itself on Monday, when Mr. Channi took oath as Chief Minister and the other two deputy CMs took oath. That was there. If you see the today's cabinet expansion, 5 close aides of Captain Amarinder have been shown the door. So that is clear message that Congress has decided to move on, move forward, move past Captain Amarinder Singh. So what remains to be seen now in next few days, whether Captain makes enough provocation that the party high command fires him, or whether Captain himself quits. Who managed to provoke whom to what extent? That is to be seen, because this is a kind of, both are playing very safe. The high command is clearly not in a mood to give a martyr status to Captain by removing him. An 80-year-old person who had brought Congress to power multiple times in past. And Captain is also not in a mood to live on his own. He would also perhaps be more comfortable with the party high command is seen as vindictive and removes him from the top post. So that will be an interesting play to be seen, because after this cabinet reshuffle, Captain does not have many options. That legroom of negotiation.
But will the Congress be able to minimize the collateral damage after the unceremonious exit of Amarinder Singh? And I take your point about how both sides are weighing their options very carefully, treading very cautiously at this point. Again, a state that is going to polls early next year. Thank you so much, Mr. Anand Mishra, for joining us and for sharing your insights into the issues coming from the states of UP and Punjab today.
Thank you.